Hello, and thank you for tuning in to the More Than the Numbers podcast. This is a show where we'll dive into the stories of people overcoming financial insecurity, explore the different paths that people take to become financially free, and overall just learn how to live a more purposeful life. So if you enjoyed listening to the show, please show some love and give us a 5-star review on the Spotify or Apple Podcast app with a comment of your favorite part of the pod. Also, just share it to anyone that you know that feels stuck, needs some uplifting, or just wants to get a little bit better at their finances. We're trying to help as many people as we can with these stories. God bless you all and enjoy the show. Well, it says it's recording, so let's just try it, bro.
Yeah, it says right here that it's recording too. Kenny is recording.
All right, so we're probably good. I'll just cut out the 2 minutes, but all right. Well, welcome, Julio Reyes, the sought-after guest. Been trying to get you on for a while, man, aka one day. But no, appreciate you, man, taking the time out of your day and joining us here on More Than the Numbers podcast. So just I know a little bit about you now. We've just met yesterday, like I said, at one of my events while working at my nonprofit, Kaimor, where we were giving out the hot chocolate. And I just saw your positive face, your smile came up, and just looking real motivated and wanting to change your life. And then, I heard your story, and I'm like, dude, I need this guy on. I need you to come and help the people, because I think we got the same kind of drive and same kind of goodwill to impact the masses. So yeah, just give a little introduction, Julio, of who you are, what you're doing right now, and then we'll get into how you grew up and where you are today.
For sure, man. I want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here. It feels great to be able to get an opportunity to express myself, and also to get the experience of doing this with you. I'm grateful, and I want to say thank you first of all. Right now, I'm 32 years old. I live in what's considered an SRO, a single room occupancy, in Skidrow. The way that a single room occupancy works is that we pay our rent. Our rent is based on how much we make. And at the moment, since I'm only receiving general relief, food stamps and the cash amount that they give me, I only have to pay $56 of rent. At the moment, I feel like this is the closest that I'm ever going to be to free. And so now that I've been able to overcome the last barriers, right? I feel like this is the best time to take advantage of what I have and move forward in a manner that's going to allow me to really, really capitalize on what I have right now.
Mm-hmm. So it's called single room occupancy. And then what was it called again of that, how they determine how much you pay for the rent? What was that called again?
It's based on your income,
Okay. Income-based rent.
Yeah, so I'm getting GR, which is what they if you get food stamps, it's not considered. They don't call it food stamps no more. They call it EBT. Okay. So if you get that, if you get financial assistance from the government, if you're only getting the food stamps and then the cash, they only give you $221, and then the cash they give you EBT, they give you it's $320.
Okay. Yeah. And that's and you're living in where were you living at again? What part of LA?
I live right in the heart of Skid Row on 5th and San Pedro, which is the center of it.
Okay. All right. And then so yesterday, yeah, just to touch up on how we met. So what brought you to even coming into that? Because we were set up on an alleyway, we had our little table, we had some hot chocolate, food, and little baked breads and cookies, but it wasn't a big, I feel like we didn't really market it that well. We just had our little alley. So what made you want to just come over and either get the food or anything? What made you want to come over?
It was actually the person who waved me in. I knew him already. We were at the mission together. So here in Skid Row, before I got to where I am now, I actually went to all of the missions that are here in Skid Row. I went to the Union Rescue Mission, then I went to the LA, then I went to the Wine Guard, then I went to rehab, and then I went to the Midnight. And so along the way, I've met a lot of people, and the guy who waved me in was this short little guy. We became cool because I was always a good worker, in the kitchen when I was in the Union Rescue Mission.
Yeah.
And he's the one that waved in. He's like, "Hey, do you need work right now?" And I told him, "Yeah, I need work. That's exactly where I'm going right now." He's like, "Oh, come inside. They're gonna help you right here." And I believe my friends. They're never. I know.
Was it Giovanni?
Yeah, he's also like very, very loyal. He right now he already like volunteers for like a couple people that come down here. But mostly does it for like the food. So like on
Yeah.
Sundays and on the weekends, there's a group that comes like every first and every fourth weekend, every fourth Sunday, I mean.
Yeah.
And so he's set up with them. Like he's very good at like being responsible for his. He's a responsible person
Oh yeah.
as
No,
far as
yeah, you can tell. I mean, even if he's getting the food that way, the amount of people that he's helping, man, it's more like it deserves way more than just the food that he's getting, man. That's amazing. But yeah, man, well, take it back, bro. Like tell me about how your upbringing was, and kind of what led you to, where you're at right now.
I grew up with middle class parents. Like they were hard workers. They were always hard workers, and so they showed me how to work hard. Like they showed me like the importance of doing your work the best that you possibly could. And so I worked the restaurant industry for 11 years, and then after that I did a little bit of I went into sales a little bit. I was doing catering contracts when I was at the restaurant business, and I canvassed for this group called Amnesty International. The only thing was that I was struggling with addiction, and my addiction is what left me like homeless.
Yeah.
Uh, when I came to the missions, the way that the rehab program is set up in the missions, it was really really hard for me to like stick through with it. I wasn't able to really like sit down long enough to make it to like anything significant, and so that's why I had to go. That's why I went through every mission. But as I was going through the missions, I still did everything that I could to pick up the resources or to take advantage of the resources that were available to me. At the Union Rescue Mission, I was able to use a Pepperdine Law Clinic, to seal my record at the time. And then I did therapy, my first like ever therapy sessions. I took advantage of like the dental program. I got surgery in my hand done. Like even though my rehab didn't work, I stuck through with it all the way through. And I feel that just having that mindset of like no matter how many times you mess up or no matter how embarrassed a particular like fail might have felt, I just kept going to the next one. I kept going to the next one.
Dude,
Uh,
I love that.
yeah,
Absolutely love that.
I think that I know that in my own case, like what has allowed me to make it forward is just not necessarily like getting things right away. It's just being able to just be like, no, I'm gonna keep doing it. I'm gonna keep doing it. Like I know that at the end of the day, people they don't see like your failures. They're only gonna pay attention to what you did. The only thing is that so even though I already put in a lot of work for, like creating my nonprofit and wanting to help others who like myself were affected, by the court system, um, I just like you have touched about it. You touched based on it on your first episode where you were speaking on how the way um, that like the poverty mindset, the way that it affects you, how it makes you act towards certain things. I know that in my own case, like I have everything ready, but it was just taking that like that step from oh everything's like written down, everything's already done, to actually being able to present it. I think that I didn't even try to find like resources. Like I didn't try to. I just it was a step that I
Yeah.
had never taken.
Yeah, well, that's good, man. I feel like a lot of people do this, and I do this myself too. I'm sure, man. I'm sure you do it in some parts of your life too. Of like, okay, they want to start this like weight loss journey, but they're like, they get all pumped up. We start watching the videos, and they will create this perfect diet, this perfect. I'm gonna work out four times a week, hit chest, hit chest and triceps Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and they want to have everything perfect. And then when they start, maybe the first week they're doing okay, and then the second week, because they missed a day or something, they view the whole thing as a complete failure, and then they stop. They need everything to be in a perfect scenario to move forward. But
That's not the way that it goes, huh? Like that's not.
exactly, in
It's
reality, it's like you're still.
you just gotta take that first step.
Yeah, just take the first step and going, and so that's really good. Like what you're, going back to what you were talking about with your addiction. So even though it didn't fully um cure it, let's say in that one therapy or trial, like you still said, I still got to get up and do stuff. I still got to go and move forward with my life. I'm not going to let this affect me. So even though you had that push and pull every single day of your addiction versus your wanting to improve your life, you slowly just somehow just keep on moving forward a little by little, right? So I think that's an amazing takeaway that people can see. But we'll bring it back to a little bit earlier, man. So so you had some hardworking parents, which are really good. Growing up, did you grow up like, let's say, when you were like 5 years old, elementary school? Did you go to school in LA, or where were you guys originally from?
Yeah, so I originally lived in Echo Park, you know. I went to Logan. People that know Echo Park, they know Logan. So I went to Logan Elementary. Um, After that, I kind of moved around to different elementaries. I went to Barrendo, and then I went to King. Those are the two middle schools that I went to, which were like my earlier years in school. I got good grades, you know. I didn't start like steering away from that until I guess I started feeling like my parents didn't really recognize, you know, that I was a good child, you know, because I would get hit so much.
Yeah.
And so I stopped trying. I stopped trying and I started working. You know, I started working in the alleys here in downtown LA when I was 13 years old. I was one
Whoa.
of the people that would be like, oh, pásale, pásale, 3x5, 3x5.
Yeah.
You know, and it was a great experience. Like being able to, I learned how to like, I call it haggling, but really it's sales. I learned sales at a really, really early age, you know, and the importance of like being bold in that setting, but the importance of like seeing things for like the bigger picture, where if you just picked up things by one item as opposed to a dozen, how much the price difference was, or even seeing like how much logos costed. I was just like, wow, you put this 15-cent piece of paper on a shirt, right? And all of a sudden it's $20, but the shirt's like $2 and the piece of paper is 15 cents. Like it was big for
Business.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
That's
great. It was a great experience. And then also it led to like me just moving forward in the way that I did with everything else. In the
Man,
end,
that's so cool. I
yeah,
feel like a lot of our Hispanic community members, like they're all good business people, man. They all could do sales, they can talk, they can market, they could do all this stuff, but it's just, again, they have that fear of how do I overcome this American system and, push my way through. And so that's why I feel like, I think recently we've started to see a push and more of the Hispanic, community members become like successful business owners. I'd say like in the last like 20 years or so. Now, thankfully, with social media and more and more people we're seeing is like we're seeing diverse business owners, but they've always had that skill, man. You go down to dang, what's that street called? Those the Santee alleys. You go to
yes,
the you go to man, I'm thinking of that other one. But either way, but they're just like they have no fear, man. They just go and try to sell what they've got, and I'm like, I wish I had that. Like, not not scared to make moves like that.
you know what I noticed though, like, because in that setting, right? It was I didn't really like ever have to experience with. I didn't have no experience with people like being. I guess I didn't see it when people were being. They were trying to like shut me down, you know. But when I was working in the restaurant industry, right, like the generation before us or older than us, like the people that were like 40 when I was like in my 20s, they were very like they were very mean, dude. They were very, very like rude, and they didn't help me at all. Like they just, I guess they were, because these people, right? These men, they supported their families, you know, and so their entire family depended on that job. And so having a young person show up, like it made them feel like their job was at risk. And that might have been why the management put me there. I don't know, but I didn't see it that way. And also, like it caused me like a lot of like hardships. And then when I would try to like get people to understand, like, hey man, look, you guys do amazing work. Like you guys are great workers, but you put up with harsh circumstances. If all of you guys just decided, hey, we're not gonna we're not gonna do anything, right? Because a lot of restaurants, right, they have like their solid crew. And I told them, if you guys just decide, hey, we're not gonna open until we get a quarter more or 2 quarters more, you know, like I told them, I was telling them small amounts. I know that whatever amount would have worked, but they it's a big risk for them. I feel that without having any like, without ever having seen that, I am asking them for like big something there. I'm asking them to do something that it seems impossible. And
Yeah.
but seeing that is also what it's what pushed me to like leave the restaurant industry and go into sales. That's how I did canvassing.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of those are, again, going back to that episode that I talked about, scarcity mindset, of like, they don't see that the only thing that they could see in front of them right now is, how do I get food on my kids' table? How do I keep my wife happy? And how do I keep, the lights on? Anything else, if you're trying to like make the business go really big, like I can't even conceptualize that. I can't even think of that, because like my everything's just on what, living for tomorrow. And I think so many people get stuck with that, when in reality what they should be spending their time with in that situation, right, would be maybe to go to like a free workshop, learn about how you can run your business more efficiently, learn how to do sales, actually look at your numbers. Okay, what is our which food is selling the most? Maybe we should do more of that. Just looking at it from like a actual, take away the emotions of like you're trying to provide for your family, and just solve for the problem. So that's a good example right there. But it's so common. My parents have it, my grandparent, all the coming over from a different country, it's a big jump, and it's a lot of risk. They don't want to, they've already been taken advantage of before. Who do you trust, who do you don't? So it's completely understandable, but sometimes it holds a lot of people back.
Yeah.
But going back to, so you were a pretty good student in going into elementary school, but why do you think that your parents really didn't value education? Like, did they, when did you feel that you were like, you were doing something right? Was it with, maybe you did sports, is when your parents said, "Oh yeah, you're doing a great job," or was it when you were working, where they're like, "Okay, Julio, you're doing great doing this." Maybe it wasn't put on school. What do you think?
I now that I've been able to like recognize my traumas, right? Now I can recognize that my parents showed me affection in the way that they knew how to show affection. The way that they did it was the only way that they knew how to do it. It's just that for me specifically, what it was not having like nice clothes. It made me feel like I would see kids that would behave bad, would like ditch, they wouldn't get good grades. I would see them with new shoes, and I would have like raggedy shoes, and I would be like, man, like what the hell, like that's what made me like just not want to try anymore. But in high school, before I caught like my criminal record, like I played sports, like it's just something that I had always wanted. I wanted since I was younger, but my dad wasn't so inclined to like pay those fees or pay like the registration, like pay those amounts.
Yeah,
And it's what kind of like held me back starting at an earlier age.
that
Um,
makes sense.
yeah, well, the first year that I did wrestling, I went to Channel League Championships. The very first year that,
Whoa.
yeah, and so it was something that I had like a really big passion for. After high school, when they took away the scholarship, I did the backyard fights. I did that for like a cool little bit. I was doing like the South Central circuits, and it was cool. It was cool when I was like 19. But
Yeah.
I seen that the way my plan was like this. I was gonna use my scholarship to pay for college, right? And if that didn't work, because when you play sports, there's a big chance of getting like an injury. If
Yeah.
that didn't work, then I
Oh
was
yeah.
gonna join the Marines so I could get the GI Bill and have that pay for law school, because I had already spoken to a Marine recruiter. He had already came to my house. I took the test. I already like I was moving forward in the decisions in the things that I wanted to do. I was making them. I felt like I was taking concrete action into achieving what I wanted to do. But being stuck in the system, it takes it out of you. It takes away that drive. It takes away like that motivation. And it makes certain things just seem like not possible anymore. I'm
Yeah.
just I'm barely in January 10th. It's gonna be my last day on probation, but this probation, like it took me like 4 years to beat, and after, so you can't do any type of what's it called, you can't do any type of expungement work until you're off of probation, and
Hmm.
it means that you can't do anything to get that record like sealed or get the charges overturned until it's closed, and it's for me it's a waste of time, like they don't give you any resources to get better, and so you're just lost. You don't know what, like you come out of jail, right? If you're homeless, if you're living in a tent and you come out of jail, Like you lost everything that you have. You didn't just lose a tent, you lost your home and everything that you own. You know, and the cops, they're very quick to just throw you in jail. And so you come out and you're just like, fuck, like what am I supposed to do? And the court never gives you no resources. They never give you no like direction. And so you're just lost, you know, and after enough times, you're just kind of like, man, like I don't even know if I want to even try anymore, you know?
Yeah. And I want to we'll get real deep about that situation, the court system, and how, because I know that's where your bread and butter is of how you can help others. But I'm really curious about your mindset, because like I'm thinking about, you know, you as growing up as a kid, like you're living in Echo Park, and you're doing really well with school. Like, what got you the drive to want to have good grades? Like, if you didn't have support from your parents, like if I didn't have support, I would be just wilding out, man. I don't know like why would you want to do good in school, and what made you want to go into like the law, go like become a lawyer one day, right? Or try to take actions going towards that. Like, what made you want to do that?
I honestly, like when I was younger, before I went to jail, I was a nerd, you know, like I like to learn. I like to like read books, you know, and I was big on comics, you know, and so doing good in school was just something that was easy for me. It's something that I naturally like just I pushed for it, you know. Um, my mindset was just always just I went with what was natural, you know, like I naturally like I like to learn. Being able to read, or reading was what allowed me to escape when I was in house arrest. Like it allowed me to like leave house arrest. I wasn't stuck in my room, and so I read, you know, like the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I read like the
Wow.
Hobbit. Yeah, I read all of the. I started off with really easy books. I started off with, you know, the Goosebumps. I read all of them. You
Dude,
know,
same here, man. Great books.
they were great. Like, when I was first reading them, like they were great books. You know, and then because of Goosebumps, I was able to do Harry Potter. You know, and then those books were great. And then because of Harry Potter, I was able to do the Lord of the Rings, and then those were great. And then after that, I got into like different types of books. You know, like I've read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Learning from Experience by George Schultz. Um, Even the Bible, like I always, from a young age, I really wanted to be like wise. You know, I wanted to like have knowledge of things because I'm not. So a lot of people, they have what's considered common sense by the world. You know, like they're able to see things quickly, right? But I'm not. I was able to recognize that I don't step out into the world to do bad. You know, like I didn't see a lot of things because I don't have the mindset to do bad. And so because of that, I was just always very, you know, like I didn't see the bad in, I didn't catch a lot of things that a lot of people consider common sense, you know,
Yeah.
because of how much I just went for the logical side. Um,
Nice.
yeah. And so when I went to jail, when they first sent me to juvie, for me, I was just kind of like, oh man, well, I'm here. You know, it's the big time. Like I grew up watching like, you know, Blood In, Blood Out, and I was just kind of like, all right, well, it's action time. But I've I've always just I've always had a heart to want to help others. You know, like I feel like the only people that are able to change the world are the people that are crazy enough to like believe that they can. You know, they're the only ones that are really gonna like chase it. And I've always chased it. You know,
Where did that
so
come from, man? Like, where did that come from?
I think that I know that I got it a lot from having a humble brother, you know, a humble mother. Like they were they were what I considered like kind, you know, like my brother, he was very like so me and my younger brother, we used to like make fun of him, right? Because he struggled a little bit more than we did to understand things, but he had drive, you know, and I was able to see that in the long run, you know, things being so easy for us, it's kind of what made it easy to like let go of them too, you know, like it's what made it easy for me to like not have as much drive as him because my brother, he was used to like working hard for everything. Since everything was easy for me, like I just understood it easier. It was kind of easier to let go also, you know. But my brother, I considered him to be like he was very nice to me, you know, like he got mentorship programs when he was in elementary. And so he would come home and show me like, hey, look, I can make a flashlight with just batteries and wires. And I would be like, what? That's dope. And everything that he would learn, he'll come home and he taught it to me. And that's what kind of like gave me like that heart for like learning. And just I'm thinking that just being treated good is what made me want to help others, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I can relate to that a little bit too. Like me receiving so much love and seeing how hard my parents and my grandparents, aunts and uncles would work. I'm like, man, this is like so unseen. People don't recognize the work that these people are putting in right now. Like, I want to help and show that, give them the spotlight. Like, why are we saluting all of these like pop stars and like, when these are the real workers, man? Like, these people are putting in the work and they're helping people, like, but we have no idea about them. So that's what gave me great inspiration. And I think it sounds like a little bit for you too, of just how well they treated you, how humble they were, just taught you good values. And then now it's relating to like, man, I want to do something bigger than what's in front of me. So that's amazing, man. That's admirable.
I don't know if you ever get like the sense of like when you see somebody else struggling with a situation that you know, like you experienced. For me, it feels like it's my responsibility to help because who else is gonna understand them, you know? Who else gets
Yes.
gonna like be able to say like, hey, I know exactly what you're going through, you know? Like it's tough, but look, just keep going, you know? That's
Yeah.
that's all it takes, you know. I know that, and being able to see you, like that's all. It changed a lot of things. It gave me like a drive that I know that I had like let go of for a minute.
Yeah, yeah, because I think it's like if you break it down, I was thinking like I have this want to help people, right? But like how can I help people? Like, and I just think like what are my skills that I have? And for me, I have a lot of financial skills with being in like the mortgage industry, in the real estate industry, going through finishing college, buying my first home, that I have a lot of experience that a lot of people can take from that, and I can you channel my, you know, thing of that I want to help through that. So that's my channel. And I think from you have a special channel of, you want to give back through of showing people the justice system, how you can navigate that and that transition from, getting incarcerated to living your life, the transitioning out and living the life, that you want to live. So I think that's what, um, when you first talked about that, I was like, I see the same thing in you that I have in me. You just don't have the means and the you know the knowledge or insight yet, of how to do it, but it's there. So that's, I think, is something you can't teach, is that drive. So very, very
I
cool.
think I think that I'm definitely like I'm picking up what you're putting down as far as that goes. You know, like that's where my that's where my ability to like help people is going to be at. You know, and thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I see it, man. I see it happening. But yeah, so let's dive in a little deeper, because so just to give people the clarity of how you got, because I'm imagining, man, good kid, you're growing up, you're getting good grades, you're working already at the early age. Like, what led you to getting into your juvie situation, and how old are you when it happened?
I was when I first went to juvie, I was 16 years old. There was a situation between my mom and my dad where I thought that my dad was gonna he was trying to kill me and my mom, and I stabbed my dad. You know, like I was protecting my mom. I was the only one that was there with her. In a lot of situations growing up, I was the only person that would stand up against my dad because my dad was very intimidating. Like, you know, he was an amateur ranked bodybuilder when we were growing up, and I like a lot of the tactics that I used when I would fight, like I got them from him. You know, like just being able to like stare somebody down, giving like that code, like that fear. Like I learned it from him. So, um, my older brother, it's not that he didn't care about us. It's just it was really hard to face my dad. You know, and so I stabbed him, and when I went to court for that. My mom testified against me. She said that I wasn't defending her, that I attacked my dad out of rage, and that I was getting high. I was using drugs, and so it's already been proven. You know, there's already been lawsuits filed where juvenile judges they've accepted funds to give harsher sentences so that you can just they basically set you up for failure. I know that when I went to juvie, I was not a violent person. You know, I wasn't a person that like I was quick to like throw hands. But
Did you have a
when
record before that at all?
all my teachers, all my high school teachers, they came and they testified in my defense. You know,
Whoa, no way.
they put a strong effort to try and show that what I did is not my character. You know, like I did what I had to do because the way that I am is not like that. Like I wasn't a bully. I didn't, disrupt class. I was a member of like Social Justice Academy, right? I was part of the Gay Straight Alliance. I did a lot of like social justice work because I joined the Social Justice Academy thinking that it was going to be like law related, but social justice is social justice. I was just
Yeah.
ignorant at that point. But
You wanted to
being
help? Yeah.
yeah, being in that academy, it gave me a lot of opportunities to experience different things. And so the judge, the court, they never saw me, still not to this day, they don't ever take the time to see you as a person. Once the judge, the DA, and even your public defender, they're so close that they make up their mind to what it's going to be. And regardless of what you say, if regardless of what you say, it's already like your destiny is already decided.
Wow.
That's not. I mean, that's if you don't buy your own like defense or if you don't study law on your own, that's the way it is. And also, like basically, it gets to the point where you stop trying. Like whatever they give you, you just accept it. You just accept. You accept whatever charges they want to give you. You accept whatever like things they want to say about you. You accept them. It wasn't until like now, like these last two cases that I got that I'm like, man, like, nah, you know what? Like, you guys, I live a quiet life. Like I might have been an aggressive person, when I was like 18, 19. But when I was 21, I had to bury one of my kids. And that, like, it changed everything. It changed everything because when that happened, I was like, man, like, this is what happens when you do something like stabbing your own father. Like violence in this world, the only thing that's gonna get you is more violence. Now, that doesn't mean I'm naturally like I'm a hothead, right? But I'm not prone to I'm not just gonna go and attack somebody. Like I do have low patience for what I consider to be like something that's nonsense, right? But I'm not gonna go and speak on it. I'm not gonna go say anything mean to anybody because I just it's not me.
It's not worth it. Yeah.
It's not my natural like way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, was it the first time that your dad was doing that in that specific case, or was it like was it like a common occurrence of when he was like would hit you or hit your mom or your brother?
Well, it would happen a lot with me because so my dad was the type of person that where his reign was absolute. If he said that the sky was green, then we all had to say that the sky was green. But ever since I was a little kid, like if I could see that it wasn't green, even if I knew that I was going to get beat, I was going to tell him like, hey, look, it's not. I don't see it green. It looks blue to me.
Yeah.
And that led me to like basically I was the only one of my brothers that really got beat like that. But
Whoa.
I don't know. I kind of feel like it just ended up helping me in the end because it gave me like that ability to just, even though I made mistakes, I was able to just keep going because I didn't have that. Um, After getting beat so much, you just kind of get to a point where like it doesn't hurt you anymore. Like I would be like, all right, dad, like come on, like just hit me already because I was reading this good book or I was playing this. I would have to play with my action figures. I'd be like, come on, I want to get back to what I was doing. And so it
Damn, that is insane. Yeah.
loses its effectiveness like pretty quickly. And I've seen that a lot, like where how I'm not a gang member, right? But I have been involved a lot in that culture because that's what it is in
Of
jail.
course. Yeah.
Jail. And so I noticed that there was a lot of situations where women, right? It didn't hitting them was like the least effective thing that you could do because they just it gets to a point where you see like, all right, well, there's no real danger here, and it stops hurting. It stops hurting, like, and I don't know. Once that happens, like it did affect me, and I think that stabbing my dad, right, it made me cold to a lot of things. Like after that, when I'd be in the streets like fighting, like it was okay for me to like, continue. I wouldn't just hit him once, hit him twice in the beginning. I would just keep going till I got it all out of me. And I was fighting like whoever. If somebody gave me a bad look, I'll go up to them and like, just take off on them. But I don't know. I didn't stop doing that because of lack of success. Everything about that like was natural for me. I didn't in that time I didn't feel like anything wrong about it, and it was the only decisions that were easy because you didn't have to think about it. It wasn't like something that you struggled with. Rage, anger, it was clean. Like it was just you can just let it go, and it was such a clean thing. Whereas to all the other emotions, they would have like lingering, like they were complicated for me. They were hard, but rage it was always easy. And so like it was hard to like turn my back on it, but I don't know. Once I did decide to like leave it, I was able to see that no matter how much people try to tell me like, oh, like you're a violent person or it's not really me. They're going based off their own, like they're judging me. If all it takes is a conversation with me, it takes a couple words and you'll know like, hey, I'm not the way that it seems.
Yeah.
I definitely have the ability to do whatever is needed, but I choose to not be that way. Like I don't have to, because of how my dad was, like with the whole macho like mindset. It caused me to like really, I see that in a very, very negative way. And also like my own experiences in jail and in the streets, like you can show up in like, just regular like cargo shorts and like a collared shirt in front of cholos. And if you're just in your center, if you're just in your peace, like it terrifies people. It freaking like, it scares them. And
Yeah.
so I don't know, just it, it was a point in time when I was like very violent, but I guess right now the reason why I feel like the need to explain it so much is because I still get a lot of people that try to say that I'm a violent person, and I have a case right now where they try to say that I attacked somebody, and it hurts my feelings. It hurts my feelings that I'm seen that way because of how much it cost me to leave that and how much it took away from me. And so for somebody to still say that, oh, you're violent or you're just this type of way, like man, like you don't know. I had to bury my son. Like I saw him come out of the womb. I held him. He died in our hands, and then I had to bury him. Like that's. I'm always gonna remember that. And I'm always gonna remember how much. When you decide to like go against yourself to be different than how you naturally are, dude, it sucks, bro. It's not a good process. Like you have to, in every single decision and every single thought, you have to go against your natural way of being. You have to tell yourself like, no, I don't want to be that way no more. And so it's a like really, really like bummy process, right? And then when you first start like doing it, right, there's people that see that, oh wow, he's not responding to that anymore, or he's not responding in the way that he naturally would, and so they keep pressing your buttons. And the people that do it, you're like looking at them, you're just like, man, like what are you doing? Like you're somebody like it's someone that you could like go like flick and they'll break in half or something. Like it's just somebody that they're not really thinking about what they're doing, and so it makes it hard, because you get angry about it, and then because you're not able to express it or you don't have nothing that's making it better, like it builds up inside of you, and it's a really really like bumming process for a long time, and I think that there's nothing that ever gives credit to like anybody that does it, because let's say I decided to make that process, right? I decided to make that change. When I go to court, they're holding me accountable to things that I did or I was charged for at least over a decade ago, you
Yeah.
know? Like there's nothing that to give me credit for having gone through that process, even though it's a big process and it's really, really like you don't get no
Yeah.
reward for it, I feel.
Yeah, man. And man, first off, I just want to say I had no idea about that with your baby, man. I first off want to send my sincere condolences and love, man. That's something, no one should ever have to go through. But I know if for the big picture for your story, man, again, it's gonna help those people who are, in those situations because you can again relate to it. And man, how I see it, like when I come across people like that, or in your case, right, where you do have a violent crime or anything like that, I don't really see it as that. I don't know what maybe it's the way that I grew up, but I just see it as you're just a product of your environment. Simple as that. So, you grew up and you're getting hit, by your dad for random stuff, for being wrong for you saying that one thing's right, and and that's the result. It's just like, okay, well, you're just gonna get hit. Well, you're just gonna get hit, over and over again. You start training your mind, you start training your body to, think that that's okay. And I'm like, okay, well, if I'm getting hit like this is how the world works. So it's very simple, so I can do that to other people, and it's totally fine because this is a normal environment, right, of what you're thinking in your as your life. So that's why I could never see you can't put the blame on the person for that, especially in your case here, where, and of course there's other cases where people are just pure evil, and want
Yeah.
ill will out of people, that's totally different. But I'm saying in your specific case, you grew up in that environment, that's what you're used to, so it's a transition, and it's a therapeutic process for you to leave that, and you have to literally become a new person. So you're training yourself to become a new person, right? Of you doing all those extra things, like you were telling me a little bit earlier, that you go to AA, you go to therapy, like every single resource that's there. You're like, you know what? I'm just gonna go all in and try to, you know, maybe this will help me a little bit become that better person, right?
That was actually like a big, that was a big thing too. I forgot to mention where anytime that I tried anything, I always, I purposely, I would tell myself, all right, look, I'm going to do it I'm going to do it to the best of my abilities. I'm going to do whatever they say is required. I'm going to give them everything that they need, right? And so that way, if it doesn't work, I can be like, hey, this process doesn't work. So far, there hasn't been a process that, any process that's established, like it's worked, but I feel like it's also having that mentality. It is an important thing, and if you if you're gonna do anything, put your all into it, and that way you can for reals have like look at it or opinion of it that's based on reality. It's based on
Yes.
that circumstances.
Yes, I agree with you, because you're gonna have that regret of like, well, did that process really work, or was it just because I didn't try? At least if you're putting your efforts in, then it's like, okay, well, I can at least say I gave it my all, but maybe this method didn't work for me. So that's a good insight, man, that a lot of people are gonna take away from that. Like, you don't have to be perfect to start something, and then just try it out, and just try it the full way through to see if it's something that's beneficial for you. Because if not, just move on to the next thing. And I'm sure there's still things that you picked up, even though it doesn't completely fix all of your problems. Let's say if it's AA or a specific therapist, there's some nuggets that you take away, I'm sure, that you take on to the next, next
Yeah.
challenge or next thing, right?
It's important to always be allow yourself to be taught. I think that's key. That's key. Like I try to get mentorship in everything, in every type of way, because it even says it in the Bible. Like um, if you have in the multitude of what's it called, counsel, right? That's where success is guaranteed, and it's true. Like if you get insight in everything that you do, you have better. You're gonna move a better direction as opposed to. So, for example, when I was first trying to to tell the people at restaurants to, hey, like if you guys do this, then you can get more money. I was moving out of like no knowledge. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was telling these people. I didn't know how to do it the right way. I was just moving
But it's out
places.
of like, you want the result of getting more profit, or you want to make this thing grow, and so your brain is so quick, and like, let's just try it, let's just try this thing. We don't know if it works, but let's try it, let's see it, and then keep on moving. So that's a good growth learning mindset that you got, man.
Okay.
I was gonna ask you, okay, so when you first got into juvie, when they like, what was your feelings like when when you were going through the trials, and when they told you, that you had to get served, and when you learned that your mom testified against you, what was
Well,
going through your head, and what was your thoughts going into that?
when I got arrested, when they took me to the police station, I didn't know anything about jail. I wasn't a gang member. I wasn't from the streets. And so the cop, he asked me like, "Hey, have you been to Westlake?" I thought he was talking about like MacArthur Park. I was like, "Yeah, sometimes we pass by there." I told him, but he was talking about Eastlake. Like the juvenile hall. I didn't know anything about it, and so when I first got there, the very first day, right? Right when you get there, you sleep in your regular clothes. They wake you up at 5, and you have to shower naked and with other people, and then you have to change it to a uniform. Now, I had already played sports, but for a lot of people, that was really, really hard. Like
If it was me, man, I don't know, but yeah, go ahead.
they cried. A lot of people cried, and it was really like when I seen that, I was just like, wow, that's crazy. But I played football. I played sports, so taking a shower with other people, I was like, whatever. I went in there like naked. I was like, I don't care. But when we went into the cafeteria, like right when we walked in there was like 5 fights before I even sat down on my table. And then after I sat down, there was like another 3. And so I was just like, man, like this is for reals now. It's seriously gonna go down. And that's the way that it was. Like I mean, from the beginning, I was very hungry. And so a lot of people weren't eating like their breakfast little tray. And it was disgusting, bro. It was like powdered eggs and some gray meat. But I already knew, like, man, I'm gonna be starving in here. So I was getting everybody's, like, whoever didn't want to eat their food, I was just eating it, you know. A lot of my focus would go into that. I wasn't really like stressing on like, oh man, it's about to be this. I was just, the food was my biggest concern.
Whoa.
And also like the fighting. I was just thinking like, all right, well, you're about to like, I'm gonna have to fight. And that's how it was, you know, like people were very, I was put in an environment that wasn't my natural setting, you know, like I wasn't, for me, fighting was something that was, it was a sport, you know, in wrestling or in Muay Thai, when a match was done, you shake hands, you know, and even after that, you share like with each other, like, hey, I seen that you have this skill, or I seen that you have this.
It's like an art, right?
Yeah, I didn't have a violent like mindset put behind it, you know. That's not the way that I saw it. That's not the way that I did it. But in there, like everybody's just because they're just on this mindset of like, oh, you have to be tough and you have to be, you know, like the most active gang member. And I had caught like this. I had made problems. We sat down and eat breakfast, right? And a black person sat down next to me, and so they wake you up for breakfast like at 5 o'clock in the morning. My eyes weren't even fully open. I turned to look at him, and I'm like, hey man, and so he just started screaming at me. And I was like, nah, come on, like, leave me my breakfast. Like, I didn't even start eating it. I was just barely like, you know, picking it up.
It's too early for this. Yeah.
And so I had to fight him. And so because of that, I fought him. I had to fight everybody from his gang. And so that pod had everybody from his gang. And I asked the homies, like, hey, you don't have my bag. And they're like, oh, you're not from a gang. No, you're not from a gang. You know, like you can't have your bag. And it kind of like having that anger, like it definitely like it changed everything for me. I was like, man, like these fools are weak, you know, like it made me go against it like completely. And I fought, you know, all the members from that gang. I fought them all because you were able to ask for permission. You could say that you could tell the guard like, hey, let me get that down with this person. And so they put you in a room.
Whoa.
Yeah. But
so the guards, they know how the system works, and they're like, okay, they get it. Like,
what they tell you is like this. They're like, if you don't cause me any problems, right? You guys can do whatever you need to do. We understand you guys are, you know, your man, right? You need to get all of that out. Like we'll let you do it, right? In a setting that's safe. You know, nobody's gonna die. They're not gonna let you like beat up on somebody like too bad, you know? And then, you know, you just go back and you're able to like get like that release, you know, because you're all teenagers, like you have that, you know, and I feel like the guards that I had, they tried to like help us. They tried to provide us an environment where, you know, we were able to cope with what was happening, you know, like they would bring us like movies or stand-up comedy. They would allow us to like buy food and stuff. They helped us, you know, I didn't see what they were, I know that it wasn't bad. You know, they were giving us the opportunity to like blow off steam and do it in a setting that was safe, you know, because
how old were you at this time?
I was 16.
Okay. And so this is they're all kids under 18?
Well, no, I was in the plot that I was in because of my crime. Everybody was like 17.
Okay.
You know, I was just there because my crime was a little bit more serious. Yeah.
Got it. Was everyone else's like crimes like at that the same type of crimes as well? So you're dealing with a lot of like, you know, violent crimes as well, or?
I don't know. I've never asked like what their crimes were, but I just knew that they were older. I was the youngest person there. You know?
Yeah.
They just
so now that's giving me some like context right now of like, wow, like sometimes, you know, you don't choose to want to be in a gang. Like it just makes sense, right? Like if I'm getting beat up by this whole squad of people and I have no one, am I going to choose 1 versus 10, or am I just going to join a squad where they're going to have my back, you know? So like, and I'm sure that's not just how it works in the prison or the juvie systems, but that's how it is in the real world too, right? If you're like, you know, you get the support and from other people. So I can see how, you know, it would just make sense for someone to join a gang, right?
Yeah, it definitely, like I don't, and I'm in no way, I have respect for gang members, you know, like I think that, like you said, it makes sense, you know, like to some people, that's the only sense of family that they have. You know, they don't experience acceptance in any other way, you know? And it was just, for me, not just, I was hurt that, you know, nobody was gonna have my back against the Morenos, but I was not from that culture, you know? It wasn't right to put me in that setting, I feel. You know, I was put in a setting that I had nothing to, like, I had no business being there. You
Yeah.
know, I was the only
Yeah.
person that was there that was not from a gang. I was the only Latino there that wasn't a gang member.
That's
You know?
insane.
So like, it was just, it wasn't right to like put me there. I don't think that ever, that doesn't get taken into consideration. When you get put to jail, like you're gonna be put with everybody.
You're
You
just in
know,
a little box, just like the rest of them, man. Here you go.
yeah, and like I wasn't gonna like quit. You know, I wasn't gonna let nobody like step over me, and it's it's how I got to where I'm at now. You know.
So okay, so now we're working through. You gave some experiences about how it was in juvie.
Yeah.
So did you have like a plan during that of like, okay, I'm sure you had some time alone really to think about like what you wanted to do with your life. So what were your thoughts about how to transition out, or what did you want to become or do?
I didn't think about it, man. Like, when I went to jail, going to jail for me, it was very like harsh. You know, I wasn't used to being treated bad. I had already started working Los Callejones, and the big thing about working on the Callejones was that when I looked at somebody or somebody was like looking at me, I could say, hey, everything that I have, I bought it with my own money. I worked for this, you know? And I took a lot of pride in being able to say that, you know, because I didn't steal, you know, and not that I'm trying to knock on anybody. That was just, for me, that was a big thing, you know?
Yeah,
And
that
so
was your
when
value. Uh-huh.
yeah, when I went to jail and were treating me like a criminal, I was just like, man, this is not right, you know? But it's where I learned, like, it's what gave for me knowledge, like, it's what gave it the biggest value because there was a sheriff that walked up to me and he tried to degrade me, you know? And I responded in a manner that, like, it basically, responding with wisdom, right? Or with thinking about what I said to him. Basically, it gave me the chance to, like, backhand him, like, hard, you know? Because when I responded like that, he just kind of stayed like, oh, what? And it just, it it's what sealed the value for like knowledge for me because they were able to take away my nice shoes, my nice clothes, the life that I lived, you know. But my knowledge,
That's
that was
powerful.
always gonna be there, and it was always gonna be present, you know.
That's
And
amazing.
but going to court was hard, bro. It was really hard. Like my brothers, they didn't testify. They didn't give a testimony towards my defense. Like they were just because my mom was with my dad since she was 13, you know,
Yeah.
and she loved him. Like she was very, very devoted to him. Um, but seeing her testify against me, like it broke my heart. Even hearing my dad like say things against me, it was just, it was heartbreaking. It was
I
heartbreaking
can't imagine, man.
when the judge said that, you know, I was guilty. Like my whole, it's like they took the soul out of me, you know, and like I just kind of just fell to the table. They had to like drag me out of the court. But now that I speak to my dad, right, he helped me to realize something. My dad, he petitioned to the judge. He asked the judge not to send me to YA. He told him like, no, look, he's already changed. He's already different. You know, if you allow him to, if you send him to YA, he's just gonna become worse. You know, like he's like give him probation, and you know, let him deal with the crime in that way. But the thing was that my dad, he didn't understand like like a felony. He didn't. He did. My dad did something like he was taking care of me. You know, he was still showing me that he loved me.
Yeah.
But the judge gave me a felony. I was 16 years old. You know, he charged me as an adult. I was given a felony, and once you have a felony and it's a violent crime, like it's just it's a wrap, dude. Like you for me, I didn't see any other thing. Like it was just, I was gonna play sports, right? And that was through college. That was gonna be like my guarantee that college was gonna be paid, so I could go to college, right? Or the Marines. Like it was just, I was doing everything that I needed to do to make those options a possibility, right? I didn't think about anything else. Like I was just giving that all my all, and coming out and not having that, like it just, man, it was harsh, you know, like I wasn't able to say anything about it because I had to move back with my dad and my mom, you know, and I
That's
was just,
such a tricky that's such a tricky scenario, right? Because like there's so many different factors there, right? It's okay,
here's the
first,
thing.
yeah, go ahead.
After that, so I got released like a little bit before, like I got released like in November, right? My dad, because the reason why he was trying to kill me and my mom was that he found out that my mom was having an affair. And so my dad held that he held that resentment. And so one day, so after I came out of juvie, they had told my dad he had to move out, and so my mom left with them, and so we were just left in the house by ourselves. The only way that the way that we ate was that I played cards in school. You know, I used to play Texas Hold'em, and I made money through that to buy us all like burger combos. You know, like cheap little burger
That's
combos.
insane. Wow.
Oh,
What? How old was that at? How old were you there?
16, 16, 16, 17. But my dad that Christmas, he held my mom captive for 3 days. He raped her. He beat her with a cane. He stabbed her 7 times, and he was gonna burn her alive. Even after that happened, right? They still didn't want to like drop my charges. The judge didn't see that as enough of a reason to take away my felony.
This is insane, man. Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's other situations out there with other people too that probably have, something similar, different degrees, obviously, but wow, that's, man.
I think that
For
people should. It's the justice system, right? Right now, that's how it's set up, you know. But if you, for me, now I can recognize that like it was a big mindset thing, you know, like because I was just like, man, like all my options are closed, you know, like I got because what I wanted was taken away, and because of how much that meant to me, I I made it okay to go to the streets, you know, but I could have worked, you know, like other things. I could have done other things. Like don't. There's always other options, you know. Like there's always another way, or there's always another way. Like just and being able to share it, you know, it's what made me. It's what helped me to see that, you know. Like it's what helped me to heal with it. Like it's what helped me to like push past it, you know. And like I really like I would hope that people could see like, hey, you know, like don't let it like break you. You know, keep pushing through. It's always another way. You know, it's always another option.
Yeah, man, that's all just for what you're sharing right now. It's like you're if it's affecting me as much, I'm sure, everyone's gonna take something from this. So really grateful. So okay. So I'm just let's try to help more people out now, right? With the specifics. So you
Okay.
you got out, right?
Yeah.
What was the actual crime what was the thing that was on your record? I know it was a felony. And what was your process? Because I know you were like very diligent about, okay, how am I gonna move now? How am I gonna get a job? Or like what was the process of like where do you
Um,
start from there?
Specifically after that, right? So my charge was assault with a deadly weapon with the intent to kill. I think it's like 626 point something PC. That was the actual charge that they gave me. Uh, right after when I came out, I was just very like I didn't have no direction, you know. Like it took me a couple of years of just getting drunk, and I just went to the streets, you know. I went to the streets,
Yeah.
and I went to the streets hard. I was like, man, like, well, I guess now that's that's the only thing left to do, you know. Like I can't go to college. I'm not gonna play sports. I'm not gonna like, I can't go join the Marines. I couldn't even join the army, you know, because it's a violent crime. And so I went to the streets, you know. I went to the streets. I was drinking. I went through my phases of like every addiction. I started with drinking, then I was smoking weed, and then I started with coke, you know. And I did coke very heavily until like it affected me really badly, and I let it go. I was like, man, all right, I'm getting like going crazy right now. I'm
Yeah.
going crazy, and like I'm looking like skin and bones. And I was just like, all right, stop it. And I had stopped for a little bit, right? I worked, and so the first time I did coke, it was introduced by my mom, and the same thing with Crystal. And because it was introduced in that setting, it just it made
A
it
little bit
different.
more normal, right?
Yeah, you know, it made it like, yeah, it made it normal. And so I abused it. I went all the way with it. I went all the way with it. And it took me a couple of years to be able to like reach out for like want to work again, you know. And when I started working again, the way that I did it was that I was working in the restaurant industry, and I was very fortunate enough to like have good mentors, like the people that were showing me how to work the restaurant industry, were showing me how to like talk to people the right way, how to be like effective. Um, I really, I've always been very, to me, every setting is either your student or teacher, either your student or teacher. And being able to accept that, like either that you're a student, being able to like be taught, it makes all the difference, you know? And anywhere that I worked, even though like I wasn't always responsible. In the beginning, I wasn't responsible with my jobs, right? I would just go from job to job to job. It's what led me to know the restaurant industry so well because I've worked every single position that you can work, everything. Front of the house, back of the house, I know every single position. And so it ended up with me being a solid restaurant worker, you know? And then also like getting good training by people that were very, very devoted to the work, Latinos, you know, like the way that I was able to learn from them, like, okay, these are the keys to being a solid worker. These are the keys to doing things the right way. And I just I continued with that, you know, until like when I got arrested again and when everything happened with my son, and that's how I kind of fell off. The way that I got to where I'm at here specifically is just not having. What?
Let me frame it a different way.
Yeah.
So looking back, right? I know because it's not only are you trying to navigate the actual like real life of like you got to go and work and stuff, you're dealing with a lot of trauma that you dealt with, right? What you grew up with first off, what happened with the them finding you guilty, going to the juvie system. It's a lot of trauma already. So I can see, how it's not gonna just be, oh yeah, I'm out of juvie now. I'm good to go. I'm ready to go and be, the best version of myself. Like it takes some navigating, and that's where you probably fell into the addictions, a lot of the emotional trauma. I can see that. But looking back now, right? Let's say, what would you say, like if you were to give your past self that advice of like, what would you do on the first day that you got out, and how would you navigate going from there?
I would have told myself that I wasn't a criminal. You know, the life wasn't closed. You know, I still had a lot of options. You know, because that's how I felt. I felt like my life was it was stripped from me. It took away my ability to do anything with myself because I was working towards what I wanted to achieve, you know, and then having it taken away from me for defending my family, like I was distraught, you know, and I was just, I was hurt, you know, I was hurt. I think that, well, I know what started me as far as like, working again and being strong in my work was having good job settings, and also like having a drive to push forward, like I was just like, all right, I gave myself the time to, be drunk and get high, and I did it to like the max. I was getting drunk every single
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
And just, I think that and that time, that was what I needed to let go of everything, and I pushed forward after that.
Okay, so you would say,
I would say, like just don't don't be hurt. I guess I would be nurturing to myself, like I would let myself know like it's all right, you got hurt. Understand that you're hurt by the things that happened and you feel hurt, and so that's why anything else is not kind of making sense. You're having like this detachment from the world because you're hurting right now. I feel like as Latinos, we don't have really anybody to like be like nurturing or kind to us. At least I didn't,
yeah.
like not like that. And so that's what I would have done, I would have like.
So deal with the emotions, deal with the hurt, right?
Well,
And
understand your emotions, understand like what is it that I feel, because it was my mom that had hurt me, and I couldn't hate my mom. I couldn't like, no matter what, I couldn't hold anything against her, but that I did feel like her, I saw her go on the stand against me, and I
yeah,
so did my brothers, but I just didn't have it in me to like hold it against them. I didn't have it in me to like to feel anything against them, but those emotions, they were there, and so
yeah.
the important thing, it's important to like allow yourself the chance to just understand that you feel things.
Now I know you. The one thing that you love and you have such a passion for, you keep on with me about. You're just like, oh, Kenny, I want to start this nonprofit. I want to help, these the people suffering, from the events of the judicial system. So tell me about that. Like what is your plans for your nonprofit that you would want to create, and who are the people that you want to help?
For the court system, right? I understand that this is a issue that requires an effort on many different like levels, many different types of help, I I want to give people an opportunity at life that they were stripped of, by the courts. Because that's what happened with me, What I'm trying to do is show the youth, right, options. I'm not gonna tell them, like, hey, this is right, because you can't really tell them what's right or what's wrong. Their
Yeah.
circumstances is what makes them how they are, But if they're able to see that, look, life is, I understand that this is all that you've experienced right now, right? But life is great. Life is good. It's beautiful. And if they just see more of life, I feel like they're naturally gonna go the right way. And I definitely do want to spread awareness, in what happens in court because people they have no idea like what it's really like. But I'm mostly going with like, with, I want to care for people, because that's not really what we have. And so the way that I'm presenting it is as a mentorship program and a social club. I wanted, how car clubs were,
Yeah.
the way I could have that appeal to the youth.
Yeah.
But it's a mentorship program. I want to mentor the youth into like not losing their drive or not losing their heart for moving forward, or learning that everything that happens to you, it's not to like break you. It's actually what makes you. After my son had passed away, like, and I was done with the 7 days of like drinking, I was trying to like drink myself to death, On the seventh day, I was like slapped into sobriety, and I was like, because I was thinking, oh, now I have every reason to throw my life away, right? I was slapped into sobriety, and this thought came to my head like, well, what could possibly happen now? What haven't you already experienced? I was like, all the messed up things, they're what makes you strong. That's what makes you invincible at the end. And so that's what I'm trying to share. Basically, all those things. Yeah.
That's nice, man. No, I see that fire that's lit in you, man, is like you wanting to do, wanting to make a difference. And I definitely see that's a great channel that, obviously a lot of people need help with that. And I think mentorship would be so good. I like just think about yourself or anyone actually, right? Like when you're stuck, I'm dealing with these kind of emotional problems, or I'm having trouble finding work. Reaching out to a mentor who's been through those experiences would be the best way to like save you a lot of time, a lot of emotion, a lot of hurt, right? You just like you get those answers real quick, and I can at least take some steps to move forward and get the, just give them the access, right? Use what you want to give them. You want to give them the ability to live a better life than what they are right now, right?
Yeah, yeah. I don't think that like our youth is what determines how our future is going to be, and we got to take care of them. We got to take care of them. Somebody's got to show them the right way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. Well, dude, this thing flew by, man. We're already at what, an hour 15, an hour 20?
Hey.
Man, I think we got a lot through, and I think it's gonna make a difference, man. So appreciate you coming on. Any last words or anything else you want to add?
I'm out here, just kind of, I'm just stepping forward with my decision to want to move forward. Like if anybody, take the chance. Take the chance. It's nothing. You're not gonna die from it. I'm right here still alive.
Yeah, exactly, man.
Take the
Well,
chance.
appreciate everything, Julio. Yeah, we'll keep in touch, bro.
All right, man.
All right, I'll talk to you in a bit, man.